It seems like every time I turn around, another tech company is jumping into bed with a car company. But this partnership between Audi and Huawei really caught my eye.
Yeah, you don't see a German luxury brand and a Chinese tech giant teaming up every day.
Right. And we've got some great material to dig into today. A press release from way back in 2018 when they first announced this whole collaboration. And then some video commentary that really tries to get under the hood of what it all means. I'm kind of curious to see how these two worlds, the car world and the tech world, how they mesh.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the surface, you've got this kind of old school car company image with Audi. And then you've got Huawei, which is, all about cutting edge tech and 5G and AI and all that. But it's got to be about more than just sticking a fancy touchscreen in a car, right?
Exactly. So let's get to the why of it all. The press release has this quote from Audi talking about being technology leaders in automated driving and how they're looking for substantial benefits from this collaboration with Huawei. So what are those benefits? What's Audi really after here?
Well, one word, China. Audi, like a lot of other German car makers, they've kind of struggled to make a dent in the Chinese market.
So they need Huawei to crack the code over there.
It's more than just sales, though. Think about it. You've got a whole different set of regulations in China, different relationships with suppliers. Even the design preferences are different what people look for in a car. Huawei, they've got that local knowledge. They're already embedded in that market. That's invaluable for a company like Audi that's trying to find its footing.
Makes sense. So for Audi, it's about navigating a tricky market. But what's in it for Huawei? I mean, they don't exactly have a long history of building cars.
Well, the press release talks about their ambition to lead automatic driving into the fast lane. And I think this partnership is a great way for them to put their money where their mouth is. They've got this platform called the Mobile Data Center, or MDC for short. It's basically their brainchild for autonomous driving systems.
So they're using Audi as a proving ground to show off what they can do.
Absolutely. Partnering with a premium brand like Audi, it gives them instant credibility. Plus, think about the global reach. If their tech ends up in Audis that are sold all over the world, that's a huge win for them.
It's like a shortcut to the global stage. Okay, so we've got the why. Now let's get into the what. What are they actually working on together?
Well, the press release mentions highly automated driving functions and vehicle-to-infrastructure communications as the main focus early on. So, the really meaty stuff that's going to change how we drive.
Yeah, the stuff that gets people excited about self-driving cars. And then there are these specific models mentioned, the Audi Q7, the A5L, and the Q6L e-tron. It seems like those are the testing grounds for all this new tech.
Yeah, the Q7 was one of the first ones out there with Huawei's MDC. They were really focused on urban self-driving with that one. Then you got the A5L, which is interesting because it's a gasoline-powered car.
Ah, so they're not just sticking to electric vehicles.
Nope. They're tackling both electric and combustion engines, which is a whole other ballgame. And then there's the Q6L e-tron, which is a fully electric SUV. That one's kind of a showcase for how they're integrating tech from both Audi and Huawei.
Speaking of the Q6L e-tron, the video commentary really digs into all the different pieces of tech that are packed into this car. You've got a CATL battery, an 800V architecture, Porsche chassis tuning, even the electrical architecture and power system are from Audi. And then, of course, you've got Huawei's LiDAR and all their intelligent driving hardware. It's like a Frankenstein car, but in a good way.
It is. And it shows you how the industry is changing. German car companies, they used to do everything in-house. But now they're realizing that maybe they need some help.
They can't go it alone anymore.
It seems that way. The tech is changing too fast, especially with things like AI and software. They need to partner up with companies like Huawei to keep up.
So they're basically saying, hey, we make great cars, but you guys are the tech wizards. Let's work together.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation. Audi gets the tech they need, and Huawei gets their foot in the door of the car industry.
But how does this actually work in practice? How do you get two companies with such different cultures to collaborate?
That's where things get really interesting. Let's dive into that next.
Okay, so we've talked about why Audi and Huawei are teaming up, but the how is just as interesting. I mean, how do you actually blend these two worlds? A traditional car maker and a tech giant.
It's definitely a challenge. The video commentary we were talking about before touches on this. They talk about how tricky it is to integrate Huawei's autonomous driving system into the A5L. Remember, that's the gas-powered one?
Right. They were talking about how hard it is to control a combustion engine with an electronic system. What makes it so difficult?
Well, think about it. You're basically trying to teach a computer to drive a car that's used to being driven by a human. Electric motors are much more responsive to electronic signals. You hit the gas and boom, the motor reacts. But with a combustion engine, you've got all this mechanical stuff going on. Inertia delays all these things that make it harder to control precisely with electronics.
So it's like trying to get two dancers with different rhythms to move in sync.
Exactly. And the video commentary even says they're not sure if electronic systems can ever be as stable and responsive as the old mechanical systems.
That's interesting. But they also say that Huawei has managed to achieve high stability with their self-driving system. So how do they do it? How do they overcome those challenges?
That's where Huawei's expertise really comes in. Things like sensor technology, data transmission, 5G connectivity. They're basically building this super fast and reliable communication network inside the car. So the self-driving system can react instantly to changes in engine speed, fuel injection, all that stuff.
It's like they're giving the car a digital nervous system.
Exactly. And they're using their own chips too, which the video commentary highlights as a big advantage for China. Those chips are the brains of the whole operation, processing tons of data from all the sensors and cameras.
So are we saying that the car's brain is becoming more important than its engine? It seems like software and processing power are just as important as the mechanical parts these days.
It's definitely a shift in focus, and this partnership with Audi is pushing those boundaries even further. But it's not just about the tech itself, it's about how these two companies are actually working together. I bet there's some interesting dynamics at play.
I was just thinking that. What kind of challenges do you think they face trying to get their teams and processes to mesh?
Well, you've got two very different corporate cultures here. Audi, with its long history and all that engineering tradition, they're probably pretty hierarchical and process-driven. Huawei, on the other hand, they're known for being fast-paced and agile. Trying to blend those two styles can't be easy.
I bet there are some tense meetings happening behind closed doors. What about the development process itself? How do they decide who does what?
It's probably a very back-and-forth process, lots of collaboration, joint teams sharing knowledge, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of healthy competition, too. Both companies want to show off what they can do.
It's like a high-stakes chess match, where every move matters.
Uh-huh.
But what about the risks for Audi? Are there any downsides to relying so heavily on a tech company?
Oh, there are definitely risks. One is that they could lose control of key technologies if they become too dependent on Huawei for things like self-driving systems or even just basic software. They could be in trouble down the line.
So it's a balancing act. They need to work closely with Huawei, but also make sure they don't give away too much control.
Exactly. And then there's the whole geopolitical thing to consider. You've got a German company working with a Chinese company at a time when things are pretty tense globally. How do they navigate that?
It's a whole other layer of complexity for sure. But let's stick with the tech for now. This collaboration has already produced some pretty impressive results. What about the future, though? Where do you see this partnership going?
That's the million-dollar question. Let's speculate a bit, shall we?
Okay, so we've talked about why they're doing it and how they're doing it. But the big question is, what does it all mean looking ahead? What's next for Audi and Huawei?
Well, that's the fun part. We're already seeing some clues with cars like the Q6L e-tron, but that's just the beginning.
So what kind of clues are we talking about? What could the future hold for this partnership?
Think about what each company is good at. Audi, they know how to make cars that are luxurious, high-performing, cars that people want to drive.
Right.
Then you've got Huawei at the cutting edge of AI, 5G, and all those smart user interfaces.
So are we talking about Audi's becoming like rolling smartphones?
It could be even more than that.
Right.
Imagine a car that learns your habits, anticipates your needs. A car that's basically an extension of your smart home and your office all in one.
That sounds pretty futuristic. How far out are we talking? 5 years? 20 years?
It's hard to say, tech is moving so fast. But there are other things to consider too, like regulations, safety concerns. And then there's the whole ethical side of things with autonomous driving.
Right, those are big questions. But let's say they figure all that out. What would really make this partnership a home run?
I think the real game changer would be if they can truly merge Audi's car building expertise with Huawei's tech know-how. If they can create a car that feels like it was born from both companies working seamlessly together.
So it's not just about adding gadgets, it's about creating a whole new experience.
Exactly. And that's what makes this partnership so exciting. It could change our whole idea of what a car is.
It's like blurring the lines between a car, a phone, and a personal assistant all rolled into one.
And if they can do that, it could force the whole industry to catch up. Other car makers would have to find their own tech partners just to keep up.
So we could see a whole wave of new collaborations and innovations.
It's definitely possible. And it all started with this unlikely partnership between a German car company and a Chinese tech company.
It just goes to show that sometimes the most interesting things happen when you least expect them.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that the future of driving is full of surprises.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've explored the ins and outs of this Audi-Huawei partnership, the why, the what, the how. We've looked at the technical challenges, the strategic reasons behind it, and even what it might mean for the future.
It's been a fascinating look at how the car industry is changing.
And as always, we want to leave you with something to think about. Will this partnership really shake things up and change the way we drive? Or will it just fade away?
Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, it's going to be an interesting ride.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Audi and Huawei. Until next time, keep those engines running and stay curious.